Please take care of him, and thank you for your service.
Military honors. The community mourns the loss of Navy Corpsman Maxton Sobiak during his final farewell. We take you to Erie County.
Plus, primary push. The race to become the next leader in Toledo comes down to tomorrow. What you need to know before Election Day.
And Capitol security. Barriers are back in Washington, D.C. The potential threat as protesters prepare to return this weekend.
This is 13 ABC Action News at 4 with Tina Williams and Tony Giftis.
Well, welcome into Action News at 4. It is something brand new right here at 13 ABC.
We are with you every weekday for an hour, bringing you some of the daily headlines and explaining how they impact you. Plus, every day you have a chance to see some stories showcasing what makes this home. And we kick things off with our top 4 at 4. A final farewell for Maxton Sobiak. He was laid to rest today after dying in Afghanistan, fighting for his country. 13 ABC's Josh Krupp reports from the funeral service near Sobiak's hometown of Berlin Heights.
There were 635 chairs set up on the field of Edison High School today, where Max Sobiak graduated just 4 years ago. 635 chairs. 2 weeks ago, the population of the small town was 636. Today, family, friends, strangers, this entire community coming out to pay their respects and send off Max Sobiak at his funeral service.
I'll see you again one day, Max. I love you. I will forever be so proud of you. Love, your little sis.
Max's siblings all talked about how much they looked up to and respected their brother. One of them saying he died doing what he was passionate about, helping others. And that, to her, brings her peace. Reporting at Edison High School in Erie County, Josh Krupp, 13 ABC Action News.
All right, thanks so much, Josh. Continuing our top 4 at 4, the final stretch for support. Tomorrow is the primary election in Toledo. The biggest race is for mayor. And right now, Jan Scotland and former Toledo Mayor Carty Finkbeiner are competing with the incumbent, current Mayor Wade Kapsakavich, to become the next leader in the city of Toledo. Now, the top 2 vote getters will move on to the general election in November. Polls are open tomorrow from 6:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night.
If you plan on voting in November, register now. The deadline to do so is October 4th. You can register at the Lucas County Board of Elections and any Toledo Library location or at the BMV. Early voting starts October 5th. The general election takes place November 2nd.
Are you one of those eager to get a COVID booster in the coming months? There's a group of vaccine scientists saying the COVID-19 booster shots aren't necessary. 2 of those people are Food and Drug Administration leaders who will be stepping down in a matter of days.
They say the current COVID-19 vaccine supply could save more lives if used in people who are not yet vaccinated. Overall, scientists say right now more studies are needed on the variant-based boosters before there could be a widespread need for them. We've got more facts on the vax coming up later in our newscast. And fencing is going back up around the U.S. Capitol building as part of a new security measure ahead of a rally that is planned for this Saturday. It's called Justice for J6, billed by organizers as a protest for defendants who are being detained by the government in connection to the January insurrection at the Capitol. Every available Capitol police officer will be working, and the Washington Metropolitan Police Department says it is fully prepared for the protest.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Capitol Police recommending disciplinary action in 6 cases against officers for what they did in their role during the January 6th Capitol breach. An internal investigation revealing 3 cases for conduct unbecoming, 1 for failure to comply with directives, and 1 for improper remarks. Another, improper dissemination of information. Now, it's still unclear if these 6 cases involve 6 separate police officers. Overall, there were 38 internal investigations, with officers identified in 26 of those cases.
Turning to a crime and safety alert this afternoon, a Toledo teen is recovering after he was hit by a bullet inside of a house. Here's what we know. Police say the 18-year-old was actually playing video games inside of a home on Angela Place. Investigators say someone fired off more than a dozen rounds into the house, hitting the teen in the arm. Detectives say they're looking into the possibility that this could be linked to shots that were fired into another home about a block away last night. So far, police have no suspects. If you have any information, you're asked to call Toledo Crime Stoppers. Residents are getting allowed back into their homes after a natural gas leak in Tiffin. That leak forced students to evacuate Calvert Elementary this morning, and students were moved to a nearby high school for dismissal. Tiffin Fire and Rescue also advised all properties South Washington and Melmore Street, north of Circular, evacuate as well. Now, according to Columbia Gas, a third party hit a gas line in that area, and repairs in Tiffin are happening right now.
All right, from there, let's talk about your forecast. That warm, sticky weather, it's kind of hanging around.
Oh, great. All right. First warning meteorologist Dan Smith is out in the warm, sticky weather. Dan, how's it feel?
Well, it feels warm and sticky, to be perfectly honest here, although it was mostly cloudy here, a little bit overcast, but now we're starting to see a few peaks of sun, almost squinting, trying to see the camera down there. Now, let's take a look at some of those temperatures. 86 in the Glass City right now. That view is looking just over my head and downtown, some 5 miles away right now. Look at 74 in Monroe. Bit of a lake breeze starting to kick in there. Not so much even along Port Clinton, Sandusky. They are in the 70s, but it's not much of a difference. For reference, 90 in Ottawa right now. Just like yesterday, there was a really powerful complex of storms that have moved through parts of the middle of the mitt, let's say, of Michigan and over into Ontario, but it's pretty well missed us, and a little bit of clearing being suggested out towards the west. As far as predictor goes, there's the big one. The line of storms that we're looking at for tomorrow, tomorrow night really, to late Tuesday into early Wednesday. Certainly some gusty winds are likely with this, and any storms that do develop should be cleared out by the Wednesday morning commute, but it is certainly one to watch. We'll break down the timing, the potential impacts from that system and more when I come back.
All right, thanks so much, Dan. Here in Ohio, an ongoing drug shortage is pushing back executions again. Governor DeWine postponing 4 scheduled executions after claiming there are not enough drugs out there to put the inmates to death. The last execution in Ohio was back in July of 2018. Now, despite this unofficial moratorium, as many people are calling it, involving the death row inmates, the state Supreme Court just set new execution dates for 2 people in 2025.
Now to a developing story out of Akron. A family is dead after an overnight house fire. This is new video from the scene. Firefighters say 2 adults and 3 children all died in the fire. It started about 1 o'clock this morning. When firefighters got there, the house was engulfed. The children were in elementary, middle, and high school. This afternoon, a state fire marshal is investigating a potential cause.
Well, Walmart is in the headlines today, but turns out it is for all the wrong reasons. This time, it really is fake news.
Plus, wear a mask, but make it fashion. Why PPE is hitting the runway. All new today in your Digital Dive. These are stories that are trending, and this one was all over Twitter this morning. Walmart is debunking a recent announcement involving cryptocurrency. The company says it will not accept crypto payments. Here's how it all started. There was allegedly a fake press release sent out by Globe Newswire. It said cryptocurrency Litecoin would be partnering with Walmart, but a Walmart spokesperson says that is not true, and the press release was not even real. The retailer has been in touch with the Newswire company to investigate how the false release got posted, but when the fake news broke, Litecoin had gained 20% and then took a harsh tumble. Many experts say it would be a huge deal if Walmart started accepting cryptocurrency because it's one of the largest retailers in the country. But there are places that will let you shop with crypto right now. Microsoft has been accepting Bitcoin since 2014. Overstock, Home Depot, Starbucks, and Whole Foods also accept Bitcoin.
The company behind the hit video game Fortnite is pushing ahead with its legal fight against Apple. Epic Games is planning to appeal a recent decision after a federal judge ruled that Apple had to allow developers to offer other ways for customers to pay besides through the App Store. Well, the judge rejected Epic's allegations that the App Store is a monopoly.
You can have a say in what the Ohio Department of Transportation names a bridge in Henry County. The bridge is right now under construction between County Road 424 and State Route 110 in Napoleon. There are 4 name options, and you can vote for your favorite. Frontline Workers Bridge, Perseverance and Courage Bridge, Liberty Bridge, or American Freedom Bridge. Votes have to be cast by this Friday. ODOT says the winning name will be revealed during a public ribbon cutting ceremony in the near future.
As you were reading that story, I was thinking, oh, they're just going to let people go for it, but no. They've selected some already.
Narrowed down.
Okay.
So whatever one has the most votes by Friday.
Okay.
Game, set, match.
That's right. I don't know if you had a chance to see this yet, but today in your trending videos, a history-making U.S. Open final.
100-1 to start the tournament. Goes all the way through without dropping a single set.
Emma Raducanu, only 18 years old, bested 19-year-old Leylah Fernandez. The first time two teenagers have met in the final since 1999. Now, after the match, Raducanu admitted her only regret that is, was that her parents weren't able to be there in person to cheer her on. And then listen to this. When she was asked what she planned to do with the $2.5 million prize money, she had a very classic teenage response.
I was thinking to myself, you know what? If you win this match, you can buy yourself a pair of AirPods.
AirPods.
Yeah.
She's going to buy AirPods.
I think she bought a few.
I think she could probably, stock up. Check this out. Apparently, PPE is becoming a fashion statement. This is video from China's Fashion Week. Multiple models sported everything from full Tyvek suits to scrubs on the catwalk. The goal was to pay tribute to the medical workers on the front lines fighting COVID-19. There were also some new looks showcasing some new PPE in the future.
Well, watch this one. It is cell phone video of a firefighter going to great heights to rescue a bird. This is in California. A firefighter offered to help a seagull that was entangled at the top of a light pole. This all played out in a grocery store parking lot. Well, the bird got loose, and in a minute here you can see he kind of hangs out for a second on the ladder. You'll see it here in a second. And then he's like, bye, not even a thank you. No. Well, the gull apparently was later captured again and checked on by animal control to make sure it was okay.
I know what it said. Mine? That's all they say.
Yeah, there you go. Well, heavy rains and high winds, the Gulf Coast bracing for yet another round of severe weather.
We're going to take a closer look. It could be people still recovering from Hurricane Ida. Communities in East Texas are bracing for heavy rain and high winds.
Tropical storm Nicholas moving north up the coast and headed for Texas. Cities right now along the coast of Texas have been spending their weekend preparing for the storm. In fact, in Corpus Christi, city crews were seen delivering sandbags to residents. Some roads there already starting to flood from the outer bands of rain.
Tropical storm Nicholas will be a major rainfall flood threat to parts of Texas and Louisiana along the coast. It's expected to make landfall tonight. Nicholas is the 14th named storm this hurricane season.
Now, 13 ABC First Warning Weather with meteorologist Dan Smith.
And some incredible footage coming out of the Gulf Coast across the tropics, and we're just past that peak of hurricane season, and here we've certainly dealt with our own share of severe storms for the past couple of months as well. We're going to have another round of it, it looks like, by about this time tomorrow. 86 degrees in the Glass City right now. It's showing sunshine, but it's pretty hazy out there, isn't it? And almost mostly cloudy to overcast. Few peaks of sunlight out there, and well, even with the cloud cover, it didn't stop us from reaching the mid to even upper 80s. It feels a couple degrees warmer because of that dew point, that moisture that's still hanging around and just sort of stair-stepping back up. We're going to have one more day of that heat. It goes back down and then comes right back in. Winds from the west-southwest right now at 6 miles an hour. Not too gusty. It is going to be for tomorrow. Again, we're going to be sort of in flux on this one. Doppler radar really showing that trend over the past couple of days of these various systems just racing through the middle of Michigan, the lower Michigan that is, and over to Ontario, and just barely missing us by about a county or even two at this point. But technically we're under a marginal risk for severe weather for today. That's more accounting for what's already been racing through. Here's the big one to watch for tomorrow into early Wednesday morning. That slight risk, a 2 on a 5-point scale for severe weather. Gusty winds are going to be your main threat. I'm thinking between 6 p.m. and midnight, most likely arrival time anywhere pretty much in northwest Ohio, southeast Michigan. These systems sometimes have a habit of speeding up, but that having been said, gusty winds going to be your primary threat. There is Tropical Storm Nicholas, by the way, churning along the Gulf Coast, and it's going to be dumping as much as 1 to 2 feet of rain in some cases here. It's just one of those slow moving storms, not going to be impacting northwest Ohio. What is, though? That system tomorrow night. We're going to race this on through. You're going to see some pretty decent amount of cloud cover here and there. If we break into enough sunlight, we might have some extra juice for this shower and storm activity tomorrow evening by 10, 11, midnight. It races on through. By 4 in the morning, it is mostly clear and out of here. 67 for tonight's low. On the muggy side, as you could imagine, for tomorrow, high of 90 degrees, so a few notches higher than even today was. Breezy, though, from the southwest, 30 miles an hour, even higher than that in some cases. Watch out for some of those strong storms, potentially in the evening. Charge those phones. Have at least 2 ways to get that severe weather information. 79 on Wednesday, by the way. We do drop down those temperatures, and then We still climb the steps back here. Saturday and Sunday, we're right back into the mid to upper 80s.
All right, thanks so much, Dan. Definitely one to watch. We will keep you posted.
She was murdered nearly 4 decades ago, and police are still searching for the killer.
Tonight, a look inside.
There are thousands of unsolved criminal cases spanning across Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. Many families are left waiting for years for answers.
In our new series here on Action News at 4, we take a look at the crimes just waiting for closure. In this week's Case Files, 13 ABC's Melissa Veitch takes us to the city of Sylvania.
It was nearly 40 years ago that 30-year-old Patty Stichler, a single mother of 3 little girls, was found brutally murdered in her home on Brenthaven in the city of Sylvania. It has haunted the community and the police department, and her 3 daughters have vowed that they will not give up hope of finding their mother's killer. 1985, Kirsten Kelly says her life changed forever when their 30-year-old mother, Patty, was stabbed to death in their Brenthaven Street home, murdered in her bedroom while her 3 young girls slept in the room down the hall.
My family is left to pick up the broken pieces of almost 37 years of not knowing anything.
Kirsten was 9 years old then. Her younger sister Elise was 5 and her older sister Andrea was 11 the day after New Year's.
It was just a normal night. We went to bed. I do remember that we had a lot of phone calls coming in, which was not unusual.
Patty Stichler was a single mother. She and the girl's father had divorced over a year earlier. Lucas County Coroner Dr. Diane Barnett specializes in cold cases.
I think that maybe she was being watched or stalked, or somebody had a personal vendetta against her.
The case file on Patty's murder showed her throat had been slashed, killing her, but not before Barnett says she put up a fight.
I think it was very intense. She was trying to either get the knife away from the assailant or disable the assailant somehow.
When Sylvania City Police Chief Rick Schnorr took over 2 years ago, he made the Patty Stichler case a priority.
It was a violent crime scene. Yes, there was blood splatter in at least 2 different rooms, several wounds, blood on the bed and on the carpet.
Chief Schnorr says to this day it's unclear whether someone broke into the home through a bathroom window or they knew Patty.
Evidence, circumstantial and existing evidence that could lead to both theories.
Both Patty's ex-husband and boyfriend at the time were investigated and never charged. Police say they have other leads, including strong DNA evidence that's now being tested using the latest technology called forensic genealogy. Justin Music is now the lead investigator in the case.
They can upload it and try to compare it to other family members. So there might be a connection, a distant relative. And then what we do is we can work from that distant relative to bring us closer to a potential suspect.
One of the most haunting parts of Patty's case is that her 3 young daughters were in the house at the time of Patty's murder. Her oldest daughter, Andrea, who was 11 at the time, found her mother dead and called their father, who then called police. Kirsten says her sister doesn't remember that night due to the trauma.
We don't know exactly what Andrea saw or heard. We don't know. It's impacted her life in ways that I don't think that people will ever understand.
Kirsten says she too remembers little.
And the next thing I recall is waking up and the lights on in the hallway and there are police officers everywhere.
But there's aspects about that night that haunt her to this day.
We, as her children, were there. We slept through this. That changes you forever. I've spent most of my life not sleeping well.
Surprisingly, Kirsten says an arrest and conviction are not the priority for her and her sisters. They just want answers.
Things like, how'd you get in our house? Did you see us? Why didn't you kill us? Did you walk past our bedrooms? Why did you kill our mother?
And closure.
Help her children end their suffering, because it's not fair to any of us.
And that was 13 ABC's Melissa Veitch with our first case file. Now, if you have any information that may help crack this case, you're urged to call Sylvania Police. The number is right there on your screen, 419-885-0497. And if you have a case that needs to be solved, you can contact our I-team. We also have all of this information linked in a special section on our website, 13abc.com.
Spooky season is right around the corner.
On a much lighter note, Cedar Point is having a little fun preparing for the annual Screams. America's roller coaster is busy getting spooky.
Staff members found time to test out their scares on each other, and it was a real scream.
Cedar Point shared the video they did today showing how scary excited its team is about Halloween's coming up.
One of the team members masked up and practiced his spooktacular scares.
It's actually quite funny. It's on Cedar Point's Twitter account. The time is ticking for Halloween's. It actually kicks off this Friday night and runs through Halloween. To reserve your tickets, head over to cedarpoint.com. They even need to bleep people there.
Oh, wow.
Got pretty intense. Traffic trouble, some big issues on US 23 are causing headaches. Local police pointing a finger at MDOT. Now they're trying to solve the problem without help from the state.
Plus, vaccinating children. Trials are still underway, but the FDA has a new warning for parents. We're getting you the facts on the vax.
And a hot afternoon and stormy evening on tap for Tuesday. We'll have your timing and potential impacts.
This is 13 ABC Action News at 4 with Tina Williams and Tony Gettis.
Traffic nightmare. That's how some are describing the recent closure on US 23 in Monroe County.
If you haven't heard yet, this closure is expected to last for several weeks. And 13 ABC's Mackenzie Keyline is live in Dundee to explain how this whole thing is impacting drivers. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Tina and Tony, this is really a massive mess for drivers. We're actually on the back end of this backup because we didn't want to get stuck in it ourselves, but I can tell you that it's bumper to bumper traffic on US 23 as drivers are trying to get off here in Dundee. And this closure, it starts both north and southbound on 23 between M50 here in Dundee, and then it goes until Plank Road in Milan. And MDOT closed a portion of the highway Friday to make repairs to that railroad bridge that was stuck by a semi last month. And we had a chance to talk with Dundee Police Chief today, and he tells me that MDOT is actually responsible for setting up a detour route for this closure, but because it was so sudden and unexpected, no detour was ever posted. So that's the reason for all this congestion through Dundee and Milan, and that led to a lot of confusion and frustration for drivers.
There was no notice, and I was everybody was caught off guard, and everybody was just like losing their minds.
Our biggest battle right now is Google and Surrey, because as everybody does and uses their phones and maps in their cars, the routes that they're telling you to go sometimes aren't the best routes.
So again, Dundee Police working closely with MDOT and the Michigan State Police to come up with that detour. But as for this closure, we're told that it could be in place until at least September 24th, so be sure to plan ahead. Reporting live in Dundee, Mackenzie Keyline, 13 ABC Action News.
All right, thanks, Mackenzie. The Michigan Department of Transportation is suggesting the following alternate route. You need to get on 23 North and then take I-475 east in Toledo all the way to 75 North, then get into I-275 North to I-94 west and hop back on US 23 near Ann Arbor.
Wow. Then if you're going south, you need to reverse it. 94 east in Ann Arbor to 275 south, then take I-75 south to I-475 west in Toledo to jump back on 23. We have all the details posted on our website and in the 13 ABC News app.
There's a lot of talk about the COVID vaccines, who should get one, what's safe, when you might need a booster.
So we are getting you the facts on the vax. New today, the FDA out with a warning for parents. Don't get children under 12 the COVID vaccine until the agency gives approval. It warns that children are not small adults, adding that it's still looking to verify different types of doses that are more suitable for children. The former head of the FDA laid out his, quote, best case scenario on when vaccines will be available for children.
Could potentially have a vaccine available to children aged 5 to 11 by Halloween if everything goes well.
Now, right now, children make up 1 in 4 new COVID infections.
We're seeing the headlines that the number of COVID cases in children is increasing, but what's happening here? Are hospitals seeing a surge? We sat down with the head of Mercy Children's Hospital to get the answers that parents need to know.
Okay, so we have Dr. Mills with Mercy Health Children's Hospital with us. So the big question that a lot of people are wondering is, should parents with children under the age of 12 really be concerned about COVID?
Yeah, I think initially with the initial strain that we had, the SARS-CoV-2 strain initially, the number of pediatric patients being affected by this virus was not nearly as many as in the adult population. Then along came the Delta strain, and all of a sudden now we went from 2% of the cases being pediatric and young adults to now upward of 30% of those cases are now pediatric and young adult. So yes, absolutely. Delta has definitely been a game changer, not only nationally, but here locally. And so, yes, there is a concern now. And those of us in the pediatric field seeing this every day certainly have seen that in terms of the increased numbers of kids that we're seeing with this infection.
So locally, are you seeing cases that are warranting a hospital stay?
Yes, there's no doubt that the hospitalizations are definitely much higher with this Delta strain. So not only we're seeing more children, many more children being infected with the COVID Delta strain, but we're also seeing larger numbers of those kids getting hospitalized. Just that the sheer number of the kids that are getting infected now, you have a certain percentage that definitely get hospitalized. And some of them that get the more serious complication of the multi-inflammatory systemic disease that's associated with that as well. That tends to come later after the initial infection, and fortunately is not as prevalent as just the good old-fashioned Delta strain that's causing the illness that we're seeing mainly in the community now.
So, doctor, what can parents do? They're not old enough to be vaccinated at this time. So for someone who has these younger children, what do you do with them? They're already going to school.
Right. So we like to, what we call it cocooning. In pediatrics, it's just like what we do with our other immunizations. We're surrounding or cocooning these children with people around them who do what they can do to prevent the spread to the child. So if you have the ability to get the vaccination, if you've not gotten that yet, we like to have those families and those patients and parents and grandparents be immunized so that the exposure, at least at home, is helped by people that are immunized against the virus. Then you talk about mask wearing. We certainly know that masks definitely help. There's no question about that in terms of preventing transmission. So those of us that can wear those masks, again, helps prevent that in children all the way down to age 2 that are able to wear the mask and wear masks as well. Good hand washing and hand hygiene, same thing that we've been telling all along, and then avoiding those areas where there's lots of indoor crowding. So trying to make sure that the activities are outside and avoiding large gatherings of people that you're not sure whether they're immunized or not, being in a closed space inside. So all of those things that you can proactively do to protect those younger kids that haven't been able to become immunized yet.
Thank you, Dr. Mills, for joining us today. We will see you next time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, good information from an expert at Mercy Health.
Yeah, it's interesting because the situation's really fluid and it goes hand in hand with vaccinations right now. This is our next story. An upstate New York hospital is actually going to stop delivering babies later this month because lots of employees there walked off the job. The reason is they refused to be vaccinated against COVID-19.
So far, 6 staff members at the Lewis County General Hospital have quit this week. Another 7 may be next. This comes as the state has mandated all hospital workers get at least 1 dose of the COVID vaccine by September 27th.
Now, the CEO for the health system there says it's working with the Department of Health to make sure the maternity pause is only temporary.
If we can pause the service and now focus on recruiting nurses who are vaccinated, we will be able to re-engage in delivering babies here in Lewis County.
About 165 unvaccinated employees, 73% of whom provide clinical services, have yet to declare their intention to stay or to go. Well, meanwhile, President Biden is mandating businesses with more than 100 employees to either require vaccinations or enforce weekly testing. It's causing a lot of debate online ever since this came out last week. So we decided to ask you today, do you agree with workplace vaccine mandates? Well, here are some of those results. Let's take a look. More than 2,000 people took part today. 67% of the people who decided to cast a vote said no. You don't agree with the workplace vaccine mandates. Of course, you can always tell us what you think. Head over to our website, 13abc.com, or simply open up the 13ABC app to cast your vote. It is free in the phone's app store.
COVID vaccine cards have become a staple in many wallets. If you live in Michigan, you can find your immunization records online. Michigan's health department created an immunization portal for adults. You can download, save, and print your vaccination history. The portal is free. All you have to do is create an account using a government-issued ID. Vaccinations that were administered in another state might not show up.
Well, meanwhile, if you're planning a trip across the pond, England says it is abandoning its plan for a vaccine passport. Now, that plan would have required anyone trying to get into a crowded venue, like a stadium or a nightclub, to show proof that they are fully vaccinated. Now, for those unvaccinated, you'd have to show a recent negative COVID test or proof of isolation after a positive test. So why is England changing gears here? According to the UK Health Secretary, the country's vaccination and testing rates are high enough not to merit the extra precautions. However, officials say a vaccine passport may be considered again in the future if the cases get worse. So what's happening with that vaccine passport here in the U.S.? Well, President Biden has already said there won't be a national app or a passport system. The choice now up to the states. In Michigan, vaccine passports are banned. Meanwhile, in Ohio, there's no single vaccine policy that's either banned or enforced by state law.
Security threat in D.C.
A car packed with weapons is found just outside. It is 4:44 on this Monday afternoon.
Here are some of our top headlines.
A final farewell for a military hero. Today, Navy Corpsman Maxton Sobiak was laid to rest in his hometown. Sobiak was killed during an attack at the airport in Afghanistan last month. Today, hundreds filled the Edison High School Stadium in Erie County for his funeral. Josh Proop takes us there tonight on 13 ABC Action News at 5.
The worldwide computer chip shortage is still slowing down production, and now there's another side to this story. The problem is speeding up the relationship between car companies and chip producers who are investing a lot of cash to get unfinished cars to the market. Research firm IHS Markit says the automotive chip business will be worth about $85 billion by the year 2027.
And President Biden is hitting the road to rally support for his $3.5 trillion budget proposal. With Republican support unlikely, it needs full Democratic support to pass. But not all lawmakers are sold. Instead, some want to pass the infrastructure bill first, then wait on the rest. The budget proposal includes funding for universal pre-K, expanded Medicare, and renewable energy. The Senate is back in session today.
New right now, a city councilman is resigning from his role as a state employee. This comes after an investigation into misuse of state time. John Hobbs is accused of stopping at places unrelated to his board duties in his state-issued car during State of Ohio work time. Hobbs was a Toledo City Council member and an Ohio State Cosmetology and Barber Board employee. 13 ABC has reached out to him for comment, and we are still waiting to hear back.
We also have some new details out of Washington this afternoon. A California man behind bars after he was arrested near the Capitol with multiple knives in his truck. Officers on patrol actually noticed a Dodge Dakota pickup parked near the Democratic National Committee. It has a swastika and other white supremacist symbols painted on it. Now, the truck didn't have a license plate. Instead, a picture of an American flag. A bayonet and a machete were found inside. The driver has been identified as a 44-year-old named Donald Craigshead of Oceanside. He was arrested, and the arrest comes as Capitol Police are bracing for potential clashes and unrest during an upcoming right-wing rally this weekend.
Now, 13 ABC First Warning Weather with meteorologist Dan Smith.
In your forecast headlines on this Monday, it's been warm, it's been humid. We're going to get more of the same tomorrow, maybe even a little bit more sun added to the mix. I think we top out at 90 degrees, but that's also going to set the stage for some stronger storms rolling in later in the afternoon, really the early evening. So far, we're looking at between 6 p.m. to midnight as that most likely scenario, the most likely timing as this line of storms zippers along a cold front. That's going to be the key as we do eventually get this cool down, but it's going to be fairly short-lived. And speaking of cool down, we're only 9 days until fall. None of this weekend, none of today has even felt close to that. We're finally going to get a little bit cooler, but it's not going to be feeling like what it did at least a little bit last week. Felt rather nice out there. Plenty of sunflowers looking out there on the silos way in the distance. 86 degrees at the top of the hour and feeling a couple degrees warmer here because the dew point. That moisture still hanging about. It's been hazy, warm, and humid out there. Not too much in the wind department for that matter. Same can't be said for this complex of storms. Almost a carbon copy of yesterday where it just rolled through parts of Michigan, Ontario, and heading over the eastern half of Lake Erie. Not a lot going on in the western half, i.e. our neck of the woods, but that severe risk for tomorrow, a slight risk, 2 on a 5-point scale. That's mostly for those gusty winds, again, between 6 p.m. and midnight, the most likely scenario for that. And there you have your your primary threat. Can't really rule out hail out of this. We have seen some reports of hail out of these systems in Michigan. Similar situation. We're going to have that warm front continue to lift north, prime the pump, if you will, and then that cold front races on through. You'll see it here on Predictor. We do have partly to mostly cloudy skies, a few breaks of sun later in the day. That could destabilize the atmosphere enough just to get some of this activity in. A little bit of a broken line even, but if you can get these cells isolated enough, it could almost be a bit of a trade-off as far as those gusty winds, the hail is concerned. By 11 p.m. to midnight, this is already starting to race on through. By about 4 or 5 in the morning, it should be over and done with. 67 for tonight on the muggy side. Tomorrow topping out at 90 degrees. Again, watch out for those storms later on in the evening, and the overnight hours could be a bit of a sleepless night going up to the midweek here. 79 though on Wednesday, so feeling better. 57, that's the only 50s that we have for those morning lows. And then we're climbing the stairs yet again. Saturday and Sunday, we're right back in the thick of things, mid to upper 80s, and still feeling rather humid out there.
All right, so we're hanging on to some summer there. And, you know, I think that we can all say that it's nice to have a little bit of rain. Of course, maybe not the storms coupled with it, but boy, those lawns looking dry.
It's looking pretty, yeah, it's a little bit dry out there, but a little bit green. Let's see what wins out over the week ahead.
All right, thanks so much, Dan.
Back to the big screen. Hear about Disney's renewed push to play movies in theaters again.
And fair season, it's coming to an end. Disney says it wants you to go back to the movie theater. The company is once again giving theaters exclusivity to new film releases instead of debuting them on Disney+. That's the company's streaming service. And so far, the decision is for all of the movies coming out for the rest of the year. New movies will be on the big screen for 45 days before then hitting your living room on Disney+. A race for the cure in Findlay is going to look a lot different this year because of the pandemic. The race planned for Saturday, the 25th, will now be virtual. The Northwest Ohio Susan G. Komen Foundation telling us the Toledo Walk will be in person the very next day. Anyone that is set to walk Saturday can join the Glass City race instead.
Wyandotte County is closing out fair season in Northwest Ohio this week. The fair kicked off at 8 o'clock this morning. On the schedule today, a baked goods auction and a parade stepping off at 6:30 tonight. The fair takes place at the Wyandotte County Fairgrounds in Upper Sandusky.
Well, we all know that Toledo has some good eats, but it's got even better history.
13 ABC's James Starks gives us a healthy taste of both. 13 ABC's James Starks has made his return to Toledo, and he's taking in all the sights, sounds, and great food Northwest Ohio has to offer.
So he's been working on a special segment. It's called Finds in the 419. He's going to take us along on his local adventures. Take a look.
Hey everybody, it's James Starks right here for the first episode of Finds in the 419. As many of you know, I'm a Toledo native, but I've been gone for a while, so what better way to reintroduce myself to the Glass City? I bring in this guy, author, historian Ted Long. Ted, you got a huge task on your hands to reintroduce me to the Glass City. Are you up to the challenge?
I think I'm ready. We've got 100 things to do in Toledo.
That's right, he's got that awesome book, be sure to check that out. But right now we're starting at Tony Packo's, and you say this is the original one.
This is the original. They've been here since 1932.
All right, 1932, which means they got a long history, some great food. Let's hop inside, get a bite.
And Tony and Rose Packo borrowed $100 from their family, started a ice cream kind of restaurant here in this area of Birmingham. Tony knew the business because he had worked for his brother, who owned the Consol Tavern. A couple years later, they were able to buy this building, and then things took off. But it was
what makes this chili dog so unique?
Well, the first thing you'll notice is it's really not a hot dog per se. It's a Hungarian kobas.
Might as well dabble in. But this is just the first stop on our tour today. Let's go to the next place. But now we're at Rudy's Hot Dog here on Alexis Road. Now, Tony Packo's has tons of history, but so does this place.
It does. It goes back to 1920. Uncle Rudy started the Rudy Hot Dog stand, and then in the 1960s, the Donacio brothers took it over, and it's we have Rudy's all across town.
And now, of course, lots of famous visitors went to Packo's, but a lot of famous people may have also been to Rudy's.
Oh, my favorite is President Obama. He came here and had, I think his choice for that day were 2 chili dogs, a bowl of chili.
Quite the appetite that day, apparently. Clearly, so do we. So let's try some of those chili dogs ourselves, shall we?
Coney dog. And again, it's got a twist in the sense of Rudy's has their own style and flavor, and you could tell it from any other hot dog.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Let's dive in.
Give it a shot. Well, it's clear to see that Toledo has a very rich and delicious chili dog history here. Find out where we're going to be next week on Finds in the 419. For Ted Long, I'm James Starks, 13 ABC Action News.
I love that. So it's a chance to really celebrate Toledo. I feel like I'm on Front Street right now.
There you go.
I like it.
All right, quick quiz. Who was the first one to sign a bun?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, it's Burt Reynolds.
Oh.
He started the whole tradition.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been told. You're going to have to fact check me. How many 13 ABC people do you know who have signed buns? Can you name them?
Oh, no, but I know there's at least 5, right?
Oh, well, I didn't know that. I know Lee, Diane, and Christian.
All right. I love it.
All
Well,
right,
that's going to do it for us here on 13 ABC Action News at 4. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm Tina Williams.
I'm Tony Geftis.
And just a reminder, connect with us on social media. This show is growing. We are just getting started and we're looking for interaction. So you can connect with us on Twitter and Facebook. Send us your comments. Take part in all of our online stuff. We're here to have some fun.
Also Instagram. Did you mention that?
Oh, yeah.